EJay, Eric, hey, thanks for joining me today to do a recap of last week's EJ pool
EJ pool.
and to check on week number 2. Do appreciate it. Hope you've had a wonderful weekend so far, and great to see you.
It's good to be seen. How'd you do this weekend, Paul? Did you do well?
Um, we'll talk about it, but who is Cookie and why are they in my spot? I'll just leave it at that. I'll just leave it at that.
Fair. That works.
So hey, really quick, because we could, like you mentioned, we could be here for hours talking about this. Some of the stuff was really interesting. But why don't we just start? Like, hey, just give me a perspective. Anything you thought interesting from round one?
Yeah, no, definitely. So a couple things stood out for me. Messiah. Everybody, 98% of the people picked Messiah. We all had a good feeling Messiah was going to win. Only one person had that score right. 1-0. Everybody's 2-3 goals for Messiah. So that was interesting to me. I thought Messiah would score a couple more, but and so did everybody else. So props to whoever picked that 1-0 Messiah win there. Good for that.
I would say Messiah too. It was close. Scranton didn't back down. Like they had some opportunities. They were outmatched, I just think, on control of the ball and all that stuff. But when they had the chance to get forward, they got forward. Like they were trying to get something. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess my comment to somebody on this was, well, it's what we expected the outcome to be, but what did it really tell us? Did it tell us anything? And I don't know that it did.
That it did. Yeah. That I agree.
Yeah.
That I agree with.
The other thing that I thought was interesting, Cortland, Rochester, 2-1 Cortland. 13 people got that score right and hit it on the head. Popular score line, 2-1 Cortland.
Yeah.
So that's 15 points right there, Paul. That's big. Yeah. That's big points.
Yeah. I that was an interesting game for me. I liked both teams, and I still do.
Is it a moral victory for Rochester? Even though they lost, do they come away from that saying, you know what,
victories matter right now for them?
Right.
I think they need victories. I think they really. I do. Like if they want to be considered again in that upper strat, like I think they need victories.
Right.
This is the sort of game that they needed to early on wrap up, but I don't think. I think in fairness though, Cortland is a heck of a team in my book. Like I think they're starting off where they were at the end of last year, and I thought that's very telling, very very.
Yep.
So,
couple other things of interest here. So Washington College, Lebanon Valley. Nobody picked that score right, 1-0. I had 2-0 in my pool. I thought Lebanon was going to win 2-0. I like Lebanon. I've been beating that drum for a while now. They do something really interesting too. I don't know if anybody had a chance to watch the game, and this is something I've seen them do the last couple of years. They sub like 7 or 8 guys at a time.
Yeah,
it's like a whole team. They put in a whole new team
at once.
Yeah.
That's
so and they. Yeah. But that was a good game for Lebanon. That's a real good win for them.
Yeah. I'm not discounting Washington College though.
No.
I just thought it was a game. It's a road game. It's hard to play on the road. On the
and they came back. They came back and beat Elizabethtown 3-0.
3-0, which is not easy to do. Yeah.
3 goals is a lot. You usually don't win games 3-0.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was interesting. What else? Hopkins, nice win, nice 2-0 win for Hopkins. They've got a tough weekend coming up, but that's a good win for them.
Yeah, they had a great weekend. They had a great
Kenyon 1-0 over John Carroll.
Another great weekend for them.
That's another good win for them. Yeah. Obviously a team you want to keep an eye on.
Yeah.
Chicago.
I'm not discounting John Carroll either, because that was a heck of a game. That went down 7 minutes before they scored. before Kenyon scored the go-ahead. So it was a tough match. Could have gone either way.
Yeah, these were all good games.
Yeah.
There was really no, even the 2-0 games. Chicago St. Olaf 2-0.
Yeah.
I don't think any of these games were. I think all these games kind of illustrated why they were on the list last week.
Yeah. Yep. That I agree.
F&M.
Yeah.
F&M, Lynchburg was a tie.
Yeah.
Stevens Denison, I think you called that one 0-0.
Yeah.
That was a tie. Yeah, I mean these were all very good, challenging games. I think the Montclair story is interesting now. I think that 0-2, no Lukovic, clearly hurts them. I don't know. We'll see.
If you were to say, hey, of the 10 games, I'll just say the one that really surprised me, not so much because of the score, but how they looked, was Montclair. I think they looked neutered. Like I don't know what's the best way to describe that.
Yeah, no,
I think
that's
they
fair.
do okay defensively. I think they connect into the midfield, but then it just dies after that. They just don't look like they have the ideas or the personnel to do what they did in the past, and I think that's becoming very telling. I was surprised at how good Stevens looked to me. I thought they looked very organized and play like yeoman-like soccer. Like you're going to have to break them down.
Did you watch their second game, their OWU game?
I did. 4 minutes or 5 minutes. Best name in Division III college soccer, Jager Booker. Yeah. It is. I thought it was a pretty even game, and again, being on the road for 2 days is kind of hard for these guys.
Yeah.
But, I also would add to that game the OWU, which wasn't on the list, but OWU. I think they might be on the mission. Like they.
Well, and I'm gonna talk about that.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
That's coming up. Yeah. Coming up. Yeah.
Oh, and I would be remiss. I think there was some hanky-panky going on, but Duke beat at Everett.
Hey, let's go on record. Let's give this kid his due. John Thomas Buckley.
Got the goal, the goal of honor.
Remember his name. John Thomas Buckley gets the goal.
Good for him. Honor. Good for him.
He'll have that. Did you see the goal?
I did not. It was the one game that I wasn't able to tune into for whatever reason.
Actually, a nice goal. He beat the trap.
Mm-hmm.
Duke stepped up and he timed it perfectly. Through ball. Yeah, through ball. He was onto it and slotted it home 1-on-1 with the keeper.
That's awesome.
Good for him.
Good for
John Thomas Buckley.
And he will remember that goal for the rest of his life.
And you know what? So will his kids. And his grandkids, and their grandkids. Remember when Grandpa John Thomas scored against Duke?
Oh, that Duke goal. Every time we saw
him. Right. That's exactly it. That's what's going to happen.
That's awesome.
Good for him. Good for him. Definitely. So standings, very briefly, right? Cookie and Soccer Guy 12, 60 points. You know what, Paul? 60 points is not a lot of points. We usually see like 75, 80 points for the winners.
I got everybody where I want them. Like I said, who is Cookie and why is he in my spot? But I do think it's a lot tighter. For the most part, the distribution was a lot tighter than I recall in the past. Maybe because I'd be like I'd start the week one at 0 points.
Well, I think the fact that we've got 41 people too is kind of suddenly you're 10 points out of first, but so are like 10 other people.
10,
and Hopkins walk on 10 points, bringing up the rear. Sorry, bud.
Hey. We had 41 total participants this week. Our goal's 50. Let's get to 50, boys, gals. 50. Let's get it all in there. because it's the more is the fun, right? The more people
Oh
get
yeah,
on it, it's just
yeah,
makes it a lot
definitely,
more interesting. And I'm already
definitely.
investigating what the championship prize was going to be.
Awesome.
I was thinking about a golden Rice Krispie treat, but you know, that's I got a lot of gold to dig up out of the ground to make that happen. But so,
Nice, nice.
all right. So
All right,
you want to jump into week 2?
week 2. Yeah, we
Let's
can do
do
week
it.
2. All right, week 2. I called it AKA the NESCAC kickoff.
Very cool.
Everybody's high on the NESCAC for good reason. A lot of good teams in the NESCAC. I think
Yeah.
I think they might have some good teams that can compete
Yeah.
this year.
Nobody
You know,
knows. Nobody knows of them either.
right? NESCAC, what's that?
No,
Yeah,
who? No, what? Is that like
yeah.
coffee?
But let's talk about Friday games. Somebody made a good comment. If we could talk about which days these games
Yeah.
are. So
Yeah.
Friday, I've got 3 games on Friday.
Okay.
I've got Wisconsin,
Eau Claire. Yep.
Eau Claire at North Park.
Wow.
I like that
Way to
matchup.
start. Way to start.
I
Way
know
to start with that one.
Wisconsin scores a lot of goals, and they
They
have
do.
scored a lot of goals. They went to the third round last
Yep.
year of the tournament before losing to St. Olaf.
Yep.
North Park doesn't give up a lot of goals. Traditionally they've been pretty strong defensively. I think North Park's a good team there. I think they need to separate themselves from the rest of their conference, and I think this
Mm-hmm.
is an opportunity for them to show everybody in that conference that they can separate themselves.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a big game for them. Less so for Wisconsin. I think obviously they're going to want to win, but if they don't win, I don't think it's the end of the world. I think if North Park doesn't win, then they're going to start questioning themselves a little bit.
Correct. That I agree with. I think North Park needs this game more than Eau
Yeah,
Claire.
yeah. I wouldn't call it a must-win, but it's a
Yes.
big game. It's a big game for them.
Correct. That's what
Yeah.
it's not
Right.
the must win. They can bounce back without a doubt. I mean, it's game 3, but
Right.
this is a game that they would need to say, like, look, we're at a level we can beat Eau Claire. Hey, we're in the mix with everybody else.
And they've got another big game too on Sunday, I guess, against Washington University, St. Louis, which is a big game for them. Matchup, location and all that's good stuff.
Yeah. So I said this at the end of last year. I find some of the more interesting soccer, and I'm sure I'll get ripped for this, but the more interesting soccer is being played in, of all places, Wisconsin, Texas, and California. And I think Wisconsin, there is a lot of really, I mean, we haven't talked about, but Carleton last year, the men's team, surprised a lot of people. I think there's a lot of Wisconsin talent that is funneling its way through some of these programs.
Yeah, that upper, what is that? The Upper Peninsula area, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Michigan.
Yep.
That whole region there. There's a lot of good soccer there.
Yeah,
Definitely.
And I would say Eau Claire, 90 minutes of hell is hard to compete against. I mean, they come at you and they go for your throat right out of the gate.
Yeah.
And it's by design. And North Park, what he would call proper football, not Catenaccio, but likes to move the ball, be organized, make it look pretty. And I don't think they've looked sharp this week. I didn't think they looked particularly sharp. But I think this is a battle between the teams, that one that wants to play and the other one that will bring pressure all day long. And I think it's going to be interesting to see what the outcome ends up being.
Yeah, definitely. Agree 100%.
All right, next.
All right, good one. Game 2. Kenyon at Hopkins. So let me just read you my notes on this. What more could you want? Kenyon is off to a hot start, having defeated Ohio Northern 3-2 and John Carroll 1-0. Hopkins just opened with consecutive 2-0 wins over Washington and Lee and Sewanee. So given the weekend results, this is essentially a top 10, dare I say, top 5 matchup.
Yes.
Because a lot of teams went 1-1.
Yeah.
This weekend, or 1-0-1 or something like that. Very few of these top teams went 2-0. These guys are both 2-0. Does the winner of this game come out number one in the country? Possibly.
So having watched both Kenyon and Johns Hopkins over the weekend, and I think on the men's side, I watched 27 games, which speaks more to my mental health
a little bit
than anything.
A little bit.
Not to mention the 15 or 16 women's games that I watched. If you were to put on the men's side, if you were to say you have to pick a national championship game based on the performances that you watched, what would that national championship final look like? It looks Kenyon, Johns Hopkins.
Yeah, you're right.
Like they were that. I thought that they were that good. Not to say that there weren't things that you sort of made me iffy. Johns Hopkins, sometimes looks like they bend. They never tend to break. Kenyon, I thought, had some interesting times where they sort of like you own the game and then suddenly you basically throttle back for some reason. It just sort of didn't look consistent. But again, week one, I would say this is the national championship right here.
Yeah, this is that's why I say this is a top 5 game now, and by the looks of things, in week 10 as well.
Yeah.
Huge game.
I might. This is Friday, right?
Friday down in Baltimore.
It's got to be a 7 p.m.er, I would think.
Yeah.
I might have to drive down.
It's gonna cut into the other games that you can't watch. Can't watch Wisconsin North Park.
Can I just tell you that's part of my? This is the problem with being the exist as simple coach. If I decide, hey, I want to go to a game, I basically have to write off the other 15 games, at least 15 games that I want to watch.
Yeah.
Or I have to watch them later, and then it backs up my whole schedule for the weekend.
You need an assistant. A personal assistant.
Eric, I'm hiring.
Who can just start feeding you.
Eric, you got it, man. Sounds like you're volunteering because I certainly can't pay.
I can't watch 27 games.
Oh gosh. Yeah, sometimes I wonder what I'm doing, but whatever. Anyhow.
Oh, good. Another Friday game. Another interesting Rowan at F&M.
Yeah.
So Rowan, again, I got to read because some of this stuff I'm like, really? Like Rowan's non-conference schedule: Hopkins, Haverford, F&M, Cortland, Washington, Mary Washington, Christopher Newport, Messiah.
Yeah.
That's their non-conference schedule. Not to mention they just played St. Mary's and Salisbury.
Yeah. And they lost to Salisbury, which
they lost to Salisbury 2-0 and then thumped St. Mary's 6-1.
Yeah.
So, they could legitimately enter the NJAC with 8 losses already.
Yeah.
And still win the NJAC because they're that good and get the automatic bid.
Yeah.
So that's a team where they're going to go into play this out. They're going to go into the tournament at like 13-8-1.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Or could. They're not going to, but they could. They could.
I think they can surprise some people. I think they can surprise some of these teams. I think they can surprise Christopher Newport. I think they could surprise, I'll dare say, Mary Washington, which I thought had an excellent weekend as well. Washington College and Haverford. I think those are games that they could totally surprise.
I think they'll give Messiah a game.
Oh, yeah. But I think Messiah will bring too much quality for them. But yes, but I think it would be tight. I think it could be another 1-0 game.
Right. Yeah. But it wouldn't surprise me if that was a 1-1 game.
Yeah.
Or So that's an F&M. They're playing without Oscar Horowitz. Is he hurt? Do we know anything about that? I don't know. They're missing him. I mean, they beat Lancaster Bible 5-0, 5-1, something like that. And then they drew with Lynchburg 0-0.
This game is going to tell me how I should be considering both teams for the next couple weeks. Like this will be a good barometer of their level, of that particular team's level. And if it ends up being a 0-0 draw, they are still in the hunt as far as I'm concerned. They're still in the
F&M.
mix. Yeah, F&M, yes.
F&M, it won't be 0-0. F&M tied Lynchburg this past weekend 0-0. It was their first 0-0 tie in 2 years.
Yeah.
I think
it's
an unusual.
antithetical to them to not score at least one goal.
Yeah.
I think they're a goal a game team. No matter the defense, they're a goal a game. And you almost have to approach it that way. We're starting out. They're going to score. Now, how can we get two?
Can you get two? Yeah, it's a good way to look at it.
Yeah. I just think that's the way they go forward with such speed and intensity. It's just really hard to keep them out of. I think it almost is like a case of when they don't score, it's something about F&M. It's not about the team they face.
That's fair. Fair. Yeah. It'll be a good game. Rowan. We'll see. We'll see what they get.
Yeah.
I think they're a very good team, and they certainly scheduled very good games.
Yeah.
Those are the Friday games.
All right, so Saturday.
Saturday is
let me just laugh
the
now.
NESCAC. Saturday's the NESCAC. Got to throw in the NESCAC games. I don't know that these are all the best NESCAC games for the season. Clearly not going to be the best NESCAC games for the season. But it's the NESCAC, and you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
You just never know. So that first game is Tufts at Williams.
That is, yeah. Okay.
Williams hasn't beaten Tufts in the regular season since 2013. What does that mean? I'm going to say nothing.
Nothing, yeah.
Right? You can go 11 years without beating them, and it still doesn't mean anything. It's going to be a battle. It's going to be a good game. Doesn't matter if Tufts is number 2 in the country and Williams is number 20 in the country, or it's going to be a good game.
I think Tufts is ahead of Williams, just where they are. I think without a doubt. And I think Tufts is. I think this is the year that I look to Tufts to really do they get to that? Hey, we're not just gonna peter out in the second round or third round of the tournament. Can they go further? I think this is the year that you see it, or that you will see it, because I'm pretty sure Coach Desatel has
them back.
Has that right, and also has that frame of mind as well. I will say they're playing catch up. Both Tufts and I will say Williams are playing catch up to the next two teams.
The next two teams. Connecticut at Amherst.
Yeah.
At Amherst. Connecticut at Amherst. I mean, we could spend a whole 30 minutes talking about this matchup, probably. Break it down and analyze it. And it's a great game. I mean, Connecticut is 2-9-4 in their last 15 games against Amherst. But the last 2 times that they've traveled to Hitchcock, they've also tied. So what does that tell you?
Yeah.
It's anybody's game still.
This is nobody's played in the NESCAC, so who's to say? But this is my NESCAC championship game right here. Is Connecticut Amherst.
I can't even begin to predict a NESCAC championship because like I say, the regular season, as far as I'm concerned, in NESCAC is make the playoffs. That's it. It's like hockey. It's hockey. You just got to be good enough to make the playoffs.
Yeah,
and a lot of them make the play. All 8 teams make the playoffs.
Yeah,
right.
And then it's
just make the playoffs, and then it's just all bets are off.
Yeah,
The 1 seed rarely wins.
Yeah, I think this is when I was saying this is just based on where they were last year, how they play. I think they're just by and far the 2 best teams in the NESCAC. And I think the interesting thing about this game, right, one loves to play the ball, right, and the other one lives and dies by the press.
Right. And, that's my question: is who's able to impose their will, their style on the other more effectively?
And then I would throw in, and I've heard this from plenty of folks, right? The game's played at possibly the most hostile environment in the NESCAC, where only the most lenient of referees are allowed to officiate. So you have the recipe for a real banger, is what I'm trying to say.
Right. Right. Over under on fouls.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Is that a
Could you
side bet?
imagine?
A
Yeah.
side bet?
You could. You could. You could.
Good one.
I'm sure I'll get some hate mail, but that's okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. Fair
Yeah.
enough. And deserve it.
And deserve. Yeah.
Right.
I'm going to send myself
Next
hate mail. How can you
game.
say
Yeah.
that? All right, next one.
NESCAC.
This is actually the
NESCAC
most.
game.
This is the most interesting of the three to me. Believe it or not, is this one. But
Hamilton
go ahead.
at Middlebury. Hamilton at Middlebury.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. What's Hamilton going to be like? Are they, are they going to be good this year? Are they going to be very good this year? Are they going to not be good this year?
Yeah.
I don't know. They're, Middlebury's a tournament team. They have been. But again, it's the NESCAC. You don't know what's going to happen. Hamilton was it last year where Wesleyan started out with gangbusters and actually were like got as high as like 6 or 8 or 10 in the country, right?
Yeah.
And then nothing, right?
Yeah. And then they just sort of.
Is that Hamilton this year? Could be.
Could be.
This is a good game. It's a good NESCAC game.
I think this will say again. I think this might chart a course for how Hamilton is going to be this season. But I think this is the kind of game where Middlebury needs to start delivering the goods. Yeah, and they need to consistently be one of the top teams year in and year out.
The problem with that statement is that even the best NESCAC teams don't do that within the NESCAC.
That's fair.
Middlebury has to win games out of conference for nothing.
Yeah.
To show me that, okay, they're on that trajectory. Because you're not going to win a lot of dominating performances in the NESCAC.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
That's fair.
So that's our NESCAC slate this week, those 3 games.
Yeah. Easy ones.
Easy ones.
Pick the score.
Easy ones. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Pick the score. Let's see if we get a couple draws this week, right?
Yeah. All right, next up. This is a very good game. Very, very good game.
The Adidas Invitational at Ohio Wesleyan will feature Calvin and Ohio Northern. That's a great game.
That is a very, very good game.
That's a very good game.
I watched Ohio Northern this weekend, and the game against Kenyon could have gone either way. Like it was toe to toe with Kenyon. Like I said, I think very highly of Kenyon right now, and I think that didn't. Watching Ohio Northern, I actually thought more highly of them after the game, in spite of the loss.
Okay.
And then for Calvin, they're probably one of the toughest defensive teams to play, and just they're so well organized in the back that's very hard to break them down. And I think Ohio Northern will get forward. Question is, can they break down? Whereas I think Calvin probably represents a better defensive team than I thought Kenyon generally is. I think they rely on the other side of the ball to make things happen. But it's going to be a cracker of a game.
It is, and kudos to whoever scheduled this tournament, because the other tournament, whatever you want to call it, the invitation. Yep. The other side of that bracket, or other side of that game, the other matchup, is Ohio Wesleyan, obviously being the home team, and Hope.
Yeah.
So you've got, Calvin. Calvin is playing Ohio Northern, and then they're playing Ohio Wesleyan on Friday, actually.
Yeah.
And Ohio Northern is playing Hope on Friday, and then Ohio Wesleyan on Saturday. These are back-to-back games. It's not Friday, Sunday. These are Saturday, Friday, Saturday games.
Yeah.
I think depth comes into play in these games. Who's got a stronger bench?
Yeah.
Because my next game is that Hope Ohio Wesleyan game.
Yeah.
Because these 4 teams are very good.
Yeah.
Hope is 2-0. Ohio Wesleyan is 2-0, and you touched on this earlier. This is Jay Martin's final year.
Yeah.
Do they give him the send off
Yeah.
that he I don't want to say I don't know if deserves is the right word, but that he's entitled to?
Yeah. It's interesting, and I thought about that as you went just your notes, that and looking at Ohio Northern. This year is different. It's hard for me to quantify and explain why I say, I'll say some after watching a game, I'll say Washington and Lee, something is different that I don't think they're as good this year as in previous years. And I can't capture it. I just see it with my eyes.
Right.
Ohio Wesleyan's on the other side of that, where I'm like, something is different about this team.
Okay.
And that they're playing much more purposeful than I think in the past few years, where they started out, they went, 2 years ago, they went and whatever it was.
That was weird. Right.
And then suddenly they turn it around. Right. Again, you can expect it to happen, but they haven't, in the last couple of years that I watched, I don't think they've really started out of the gate where you're like, wow, Ohio Wesleyan's really hitting it this time around. And again, that's at my expense, right? Because they beat my Purple Raiders 3-1 to open the season, but they are looking, they're on a mission. And it could be Jay Martin.
And that was my question. I actually looked at them last week too, to see if I can include them in the pool last week, because I think that's an interesting story and something I want to follow.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious to see how the Jay Martin farewell tour goes, and how OWU responds in each and every game they have. Nothing against your Purple People Eaters, but I thought this was a better week for them to be in the pool than last week, because I think they've got some real nice matchups this weekend.
The Mount Union Purple Raiders in this conversation.
Purple Raiders.
And this conversation is over.
I'll remember that. I'll remember that next time.
Yeah. You'll remember that. Okay, now let's go to New York for a little bit.
Let's go to New York. St. Lawrence at Oneonta.
I don't know how to take this game.
Yeah, I can't wait to read all week on the boards about what all our St. Lawrence friends have to say about this game.
Stir it, baby. Stir that pot.
They crack me up. They lose one game and the sky is falling every time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
And then my favorite it goes, it's not only is the sky is falling, but then you get they haven't looked this bad since '07 when they had such and such a guy who scored the goal against this guy.
Right.
Like, wow, I got a tremendous memory recall.
I love the passion of those guys. There's a couple, was it 2 or 3 or 4? I love their passion. It is fantastic.
Love it.
I got to think that they're thinking this is a must-win game.
Yeah.
They're 0-2.
0-2.
Right? They're 0-2, and they've got Oneonta, who's a very good team, who they've struggled against. They're 2-7 against them the last 9 years. I got to think that our friends up in New York are going to say this is a must-win. We can't start 0-3.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yep. I totally agree with on that. Like they cannot afford. I think psychologically, like they don't go 0-3. You know what I mean? Like that's not their style. They're right. Like and I'm not sure. Do they have the resilience to be like keep going? Right. Again, we talked about Ohio Wesleyan when they went that 0-6 or 0-7 before they started to get. Like there's a depth of confidence with Ohio Wesleyan that I'm not sure St. Lawrence has.
But again, though, it's a confidence builder. Like if they lose, right? If they lose, are they going to start questioning themselves? Oh, we're 0-3, and we got beat by 3 SUNY schools. On the other hand, it's okay. Did we do a couple things well that we can carry into the conference where it really matters. You say goodbye to pool C, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So pool C is out, but win your conference. Go win your conference. Simple as
Yeah.
that. Simple as that. So that's a good test for them. And Oneonta, they've only played one game. They beat Union 1-0.
Mm.
I'm a big fan of the Oneonta athletic director. I don't know who it is, but they somehow managed to schedule 9 of their first 11 games at home.
That is impressive.
And then the one of those 2 away games is a whopping 1 mile down the road at Hartwick. They basically got 10 home games in their first 11 games.
And meanwhile, the AD's like just counting the cash they're saving on gas. Like, oh,
right?
Look at this, baby.
That's it. And all that money goes to some NIL deals to stock the team a little bit more, right?
Yeah.
Good game.
I think St. Lawrence needs this, just like we said. And I'm a big fan of Coach Toshak, so and I think he knows it as well. That like the loss against Cortland is a tough, bitter pill for them to swallow.
Yeah.
And I will say, I think Oneonta, for their part, I think they want to keep pace with Cortland, right? So okay. This is a game that they would have. This is a game in the slate where they're like, we have to take St. Lawrence, like it or not. This is one of those games because they're not going to get many of them, and I think that's the way they're going to look at it. And it's at Oneonta too.
It's at Oneonta. This maybe we'll get some ties out of this one. People will, because it's St. Lawrence is going to come in having to win, as we're talking about. And Oneonta really wanting to win. I think there's a difference there between having to and wanting to.
Which would be the worst of all worlds for our St. Lawrence brethren if they went 0-0, because not only would it not be a win, they would not score any goals.
But you'll hear about the future All-American freshman center back who had a
banger of a game.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, there's so much hate coming our way.
I know. This is bad. I'm sorry, guys. I don't mean it. It's nothing personal.
It's so much fun. All right, and then one game left.
One game.
And it's for Sunday, which is a fantastic pick, by the way. Fantastic pick.
This is a top 10 matchup. This is a top 10 matchup, legitimate top 10 matchup. It is the U.S. News and World Report's number 4 liberal arts college in the country, traveling across the country to take on the number 7 U.S. News and World Report National University. That game is Swarthmore flying out to California to play Caltech.
Outstanding.
I love it.
I don't know where you got that fact, but I was like intrigued by that. I'm like, really? Oh my gosh. So maybe they'll share book notes with each other before the game.
So I was looking at the rosters and looking at the majors. I'm color me impressed. These are smart kids.
Yeah.
Obviously, I mean, these are 2 great schools. There's no question about it. The fun fact that I found about this matchup here: the number 1 state represented on the Swarthmore roster. Swarthmore's right outside Philly.
Yeah.
In case anybody didn't know, the Pennsylvania school right outside Philly. Number 1 represented state on that roster. Take a guess.
California.
They've got 5 kids from California on that Swarthmore roster. I'm guessing their parents are going to be really happy this weekend. They're going to get to see their kid. Good chance they're going to get to see their kid in person without having to fly across the country.
Yeah. I always say that's the reason why they do that, right? Like either the kids recruiting, they think it's a hotbed, or there's like a lot of alumni, and so they it's an opportunity to sort of connect with alumni.
I think after the game, there's going to be a networking opportunity for all the Caltech kids to pitch their new code and products that they're building to the investors at the Swarthmore kids who are going to be running the hedge funds that are investing in their companies. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, there's another reason why Swarthmore. This is a top 10 matchup as far as I'm concerned. Um, Mama Cass almost went to Swarthmore of the Mamas and the Papas. So,
Okay.
That's a big reason to watch. No, but seriously, there is a reason why, in spite of it all, in spite of everyone, going different directions, why I said Duncan Gillis of Caltech was my 2023 Coach of the Year. And I watched them this weekend because have this fascination with how great of a place it would be to go to school if I could only get above the 2.3 grade point average that I currently have. This a different. He in his 3 years, or this is fourth year. They are playing much better soccer, and he's bringing in much more talented kids, and I think it's a credit to him.
Yeah.
I will say, on the schedule for Swarthmore over the weekend, this is what I think might be their, and I'm using air quotes, their easier matchup, because they play Occidental on front, which, I mean, talk about, jumping into the lion's den.
That was originally the game that I was going to pick, was that Occidental game, because I was intrigued by the idea of Swarthmore flying across the country.
Yeah.
And I was curious why that was. And Occidental is a team that I want to get in this pool soon. Yeah. And I thought that would have been a good game to see what's the score. I think Occidental would win that game, but what's the score going to be?
Yeah.
But when I saw that they were playing Caltech, I mean, like I said, that's a top 10 matchup. According to U.S. News.
Yeah. Caltech, according to that paid advertorial.
Right. You're really going to get the hate mail now.
Mount Union should have been there, number one. Like, come on.
Right.
This to me will be. I think Swarthmore I don't want to say right the ship as if something has gone terribly wrong, but I think their pedigree has been a lot higher soccer-wise, and I think this might be the opportunity that they see that they would be able to do that. And I think I think a game, Oxy's going to be super difficult. I think Oxy's going to take that. I think there's too much talent there. But I think this Caltech game becomes, hey, if we go 1-1 over the weekend and we've traveled across the country, that's not a bad place to be. But I will say, I don't think Caltech's going to make it easy on them.
No. I think this is actually going to be a very good game.
Yeah.
It's just, it's two teams that, honestly are not, they're not top 20 teams.
No.
So it might not get the love of some of these other games that are there, but it's going to be a good game.
Yeah. Not to mention, it's a beautiful campus. Caltech's beautiful place. So
I didn't realize how small it was.
Yeah, no. And it's like this totally unique educational experience. That's the part.
Right.
You legitimately have to be not only smart, but like this crazy go-getter type, because you forge your own degree. Like it's just really, really smart people. Like I feel dumb even just watching this stream. Just the kids.
They're all, they do something, at least in some of the bios I was looking at. They spend a lot of time talking about what the kids do outside the classroom on the roster. This kid worked in this lab and was doing cutting edge molecular, analysis on this product or this disease or whatever. Like, okay, impressive. Impressive. And you play soccer too? Okay, cool.
Yeah. I was doing all sorts of different things to my molecules at their age, but it wasn't examining them, that's for sure. It was more like destroying
chemistry. Yeah, you're focused on different chemistry.
Yeah. So
yeah, exactly. So those are 10 games.
Wow. Okay. So for those of you who are watching who want to sign up, on the link will be in the video, the description down below. There's also, I set up, and you'll be able to see it, the page with all of the, a post with all of the games with sort of some descriptors. and then there'll be the link that you're going to provide me that will be towards the Google form.
The form,
for people to fill out. Our goal is to get 50 people now, and I think, come on, baby, we can do it. I need 49 other people that I could beat mercilessly week in and week out.
You're right in the middle of the pack. Give yourself some credit.
Yeah. All right, very well. EJay, Eric, thank you. This was awesome. Do appreciate it, and we'll be in touch.
We'll talk soon.
All right.
Later.